President Corridor. And we were personally, we were in very good terms. Unfortunately, we lost him. He died of natural causes. And a number of other Armenians, Kachaznuni, for instance, Hamanes Kachaznuni, and a very interesting and highly truthful Armenian statesman who happened to be the first prime minister of the independent Republic of Armenia in the early 1920s. And he is the person who published this book called The Armenian Revolutionary Federation Has Nothing to Do Anymore. I have here somewhere a copy of the first page. Well, let's not lose time in searching for these things. I have a number of documents like that. And I reintroduced this book because he says in his book, which is a memoirs and which actually was his talk addressed to the General Assembly of the Daşnak Party in Bucharest in the year 1923, and he says in the book, in several places, that the Turks extended the hand and arm of friendship to the Armenians, and he says, we refused it because we were well-fed, well-armed, and thought that we could win. And then he says, almost in quotation marks, and then came the rude awakening. And somewhere else in the book he says, we drew maps on paper and we thought we could win it. And that these lands would be ours. And it was not actual Armenia, it was an empire. Because the way they drew the maps on paper, it was a huge Armenian state connecting the eastern half of the Black Sea, Turkish Black Sea, with eastern Mediterranean, and also stretching way up to the Caspian Sea and getting as south as they could, coming closer and closer to the Persian Gulf. Yes, and they said, just because we drew it on paper, we thought that this was realistic. Now, at the end of which he says to all the delegates, now you have a republic in the Caucasus. Be satisfied with it. And you should have nothing more to do. And this is the title of his book. Yeah. There is another Armenian American, William Saroyan. And I translated a collection of his short stories when I was 19 years old. And I had it published in Turkey. It was the first translation from William Saroyan, because I knew good English, and I had read Steinbeck and Hemingway and Truman Capote, O. Henry, and so on and so forth. When, O. Henry, of course, was British, but in any case, all the other American writers, and also William Saroyan. The moment I read William Saroyan, I said to myself, as a young man, if I ever write, if I had written short stories, I would have written exactly like that. And I decided right there that I would render them into Turkish, and I did. And no member of my family ever said that this man is an Armenian. When I took it to the printer, he didn't prevent its publication. On the contrary, he immediately accepted it. And all my friends, they were all for it. Now, I heard in that meeting 10 days ago, Peter Balakyan, an Armenian-American speaking. Did he ever attempt to think even of translating into his mother tongue any literary masterpiece in Turkish literature? It didn't even occur to him. Why did I do it? What is this difference? It is the real difference between me and Balakyan. That man, he is loaded with anti-Turkish prejudice up at its neck. But at the same meeting, Miss Minasyan, a violinist and a pianist, young man, Nazaryan, they played a rhapsody by Bagdasaryan, an Armenian composer, and Miss Aroyan sang a solo, mezzo-soprano. My congratulations to them, to these three young Armenians. Did you know that there's well, there must be many others, but a Turkish exceptionally talented violinist in Melbourne, Mrs. Yeşim Solak? Did you ever hear of her name? And I told her whether she was ever invited to the meetings of the church that they hold together with other Australians in order to play the violin in the intermissions and so on, and she said no, it never occurred. Now, as to the actual talk of the topic that I've selected, please do not expect me to touch upon all aspects of the issue here. This cannot be done, it's impossible. It's a good thing that this film was shown before, so that in addition to what you already know about this issue, you have seen a general outlook prepared by a non-Turk. It's a good film. So it makes my task, so to speak, a little easier, because I think I told you at the beginning that I published about 79 books and booklets on this issue, and don't expect me to summarize any one of them here. The only thing that I would stress, and I hope I won't take much of your time, and if I would have thought that I should have, I can talk until tomorrow morning. And I don't want to do that here. But I want to concentrate only and only of more contemporary aspects of the problem. That is, shall we come to terms with our past? Or, what does that mean, to coming to terms with one's past? Now, there are certain parliaments in the world, here and there, taking decisions or issuing declarations about this issue. And with a call, so to speak, to come to terms with the past. The presumption is that the church should come to terms with that past. Now, I say, why not? All right. Theoretically speaking, I have nothing against it. We have nothing to hide. We have published a lot so far. We can do it. But it has to stem from certain conditions, legitimate conditions. Coming to terms with the past needs to be, for instance, to be in good faith, free from politics, domestic politics and international politics. And it should entail the establishment of a correct historical record, because it is basically a probe into history. And history has its own methodology. But this methodology is almost the same as the methodology of science, taking into consideration all facts